Hey, B30. So this is our recap for chapters 1 to 4. Now, I'm just going to be sure that you have all the summaries for where we're at right now. You are responsible for chapters 5 and 6, which going to discuss tomorrow in our Google Meet. And if you are going to work on it on your own, that's your choice. But I do expect you to comment in the post that I will have beginning for the beginning of the day, and you will say checking in. And so then that tells me you checked in and you saw the post and the expectation then, and I'm going to presume that you are going to be working on chapters 5 and 6 on your own and go from there. If you are going to be a part of the Google Meet, it'll be going from 9 to 11:10, and you just have to click the Google Meet link that will become visible on Google Classroom during that duration, and then it will be closed off at the end of class. And then we'll just repeat that over and over again until the end of the quint. All right. So, and then of course you can do your TED Talks anytime. If you want to do your TED Talk in Google Meet, which I do actually recommend, that would be a good practice run for you in regards to practicing in front of an audience, albeit digital, but at least you are practicing in front of an audience. You can do your TED Talk anytime, get it done, it's done. And then submit your written portion to the TED Talk link on Google Classroom. Or you could email or upload the video recording of yours and the written portion as well, and get that done, and it's done. Just follow the worldview themes that are posted on the front of your course outline booklet. And if I can, right here. Okay, there you go. Okay, so right there are all the themes that you could focus on for worldviews. All right. And then again, I'll take a look at the what we've done for each outcome, and if everything looks good and we've done everything we need, then that's all we have left to do would be finishing up Animal Farm and the TED Talks. Okay, so need your help, and if we can get that done together, then we should be fine. Keep in mind, all videos will now be on YouTube, the Haskin ELA YouTube channel. That'll be my other way of tracking whether or not you are participating in the class during this online portion of the quint. And it'll also help me decide whether or not I'm going to do video recaps for quints 3 and 4 for your fellow grade 12s, and 3, 4, 5 actually. So that'll be, I guess, your feedback, I guess, whether or not these videos are working and helping you out. Okay, so let's get to Animal Farm. And let's make it a little larger there. Okay, there we go. So Animal Farm, and so chapter 1 I did on Friday, I think, and then the next group took chapter 1 and 2, I believe, with the first substitute teacher I had on Monday, and then 3 and 4 with the other substitute on Tuesday for the other group. So one of you, trying to get my days, it was day 2, day 1. So day 2, you will get caught up through this method, I guess, and my apologies for that, but again, I had to wait until I was allowed to return. So that's why we had those 2 subs on Monday, Tuesday. So let's go to chapter 1, the dream of revolution. Mr. Jones is a drunkard who does very little for the welfare of his animals on his farm. Old Major, he's the patriarch, the father of, or a father figure of all the animals on his farm. He speaks of a dream that he had about revolution, where animals controlled everything, and all enemies are man. And if you get rid of man, then the animals can live a full life and have everything that they dreamed of. Okay, so all men are enemies and all animals are comrades. So that's a maxim number 1. We're going to have about 9 maxims in this novel, so keep track of that, please. And Beast of England is the national anthem, and I actually sung that on Friday. So one of your classmates suggested I maybe sing it and post the singing of it. I might. We'll see. I was thinking actually doing the greatest hits about Animal Farm. That's what I was thinking on while I was waiting to get back to school. So we'll see. Let's go to chapter 2. Animalism is born. And by the way, you can press pause at any time to get this information so you can submit and get your assess and reflect mark. At the end of chapter 1, because of all the singing taking place, Mr. Jones wakes up. He fires off a shot from his shotgun, and well, now we know where those pellets hit, and it hit Old Major, and he sadly dies 3 days later. We have 2 new leaders that step up to the plate. It's Snowball and Napoleon, and they are a manifestation of and personification, where human characteristics of Trotsky, Lenin, and Stalin. That transition from the Russian Revolution and the transformation from Russia to Soviet Union. We've seen other examples in history, and you can plug in those characters quite easily for Snowball and Napoleon, as well as Squealer too. Capable speaker, good debater, but also able to spin things his own way. So we've seen a lot of that in the last little while, in the last few years anyways. They take Old Major's teachings and they call it animalism, which is kind of the skewed version of communism. And so they teach it to the animals every night. And Manor Farm is now renamed Animal Farm. So it's very similar from Russia to Soviet Union, and of course some other countries that changed from one name to another name after the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989. So lots of different examples there that you can draw from. Continuation, we had the house of Mr. Jones would be kept as a museum. We'll see if that actually lasts. And we have the 7 commandments, kind of simplify the animalism for the animals. So kind of keep it simple, straightforward, so that they can memorize and remember what animalism is. So this is the core values. And then we find out at the end that the milk is missing. So we'll find out who took the milk. In chapter 3, blind faith, nationalism, simplification of commandments. The Snowball is realizing that the 7 commandments are way too long for the animals to comprehend. So they come up with 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. So we're going to find out about that. So we also have Boxer sharing some maxims. Maxims a creed or something you stand by. And we have I will work harder. Okay. So we find that the animals are doing a pretty good job. They're doing way better than Mr. Jones ever did on the farm. And that's, the humans are finding about this, and they're like, they don't like the fact that the farm's being run better than maybe most of their farms are. So of course, then it leads into spreading rumors and dissent among the other communities in the hopes that it might deter the animals from showing any further progress. Every Sunday is a form of nationalism. We have the flag waving, we have the Beasts of England being sung, that kind of thing. So a lot of pride in what they've accomplished. And we have a bunch of committees. If that sounds familiar, it does. It's very similar to the many committees that came out of fascism and other forms of communism or totalitarianism. A lot of isms. So we have that, and in this case, not all the committees work because you're looking at the pigs trying to teach the other animals certain skills, and they're not capable of doing that. And so we have a two-class system in this society when they keep promoting that 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. So for anyone on 4 legs, we're all equal, and but unfortunately the equality and equity that is being presented on the surface, when you dig a little deeper, it's no longer there. Okay, so I would like you to pay attention to how things are portrayed on the surface. That's that perception, and then what is the reality. That's all the stuff that's below the surface. So please pay attention to the perception versus reality in this text. And we have, yes, so the animals could not read the 7 commandments, and maybe they can only understand a couple of them. So Snowball shrinks it down to 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. And so this is the third maxim. So if we go back to the first maxim, which is, got to go back to this, all men are enemies and all animals are comrades. That's number 1. Number 2 is I will work harder. And there you go, I will work harder. And then of course, 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. So we're at 3 maxims right now. And let's go to the next slide for chapter 3. Napoleon has no interest in any of these committees. He actually wants to be a little more militaristic in nature. And so, yes, we took the farm from Jones. So now let's spread the word so we can take control of the other farms, get all the other animals on board. So it could be a total animal one like New World Order type thing. And Snowball, of course, disagrees with that. He figures through education and stuff like that, we could probably work together and find a common ground and things like that. Something to pay attention to, we have Jessie and Bluebell's puppies. There's 9 of them. Napoleon takes them away to educate them. So that sounds very familiar. And we've had a number of situations where children have been taken away from their families and then, of course, re-educated and educated to conform to certain ideologies and things like that. So history repeats itself, and we're seeing it not just in this novel, but we're seeing it happen a number of times throughout history, even leading up to even now. We find out what happened to the milk and the apples as well. We found out apples were gone too. And we find out the pigs are getting all of it because they're the brain workers of the farm. And the animals actually, the rest of the animals actually go along with it for now, anyways. And all the pigs had to do was to just say, Jones will come back if we don't have our milk and we don't have our apples. Well, You know, if you have that scare tactic being applied every single time, of course you're going to give up the milk and apples, even though you want some too. But Jones is the worst, so we don't want him to come back. So we will sacrifice the milk and the apples. So fear factor, I'm going to be saying that I don't know how many times during this novel, but fear factor to maintain control. In the last chapter, we have spreading the message, Battle of the Cowshed, Costs of War. News spreads that animals have taken over Manor Farm, or what actually now it's called Animal Farm. Mr. Jones is complaining about losing his farm to the animals, but he's receiving some sympathies. But the other big issue is we have Frederick and Pilkington downright don't agree. It's unnatural that the animals have taken over. So they decide they're going to take the farm back. And so the humans try to attack it. And they attack in 5 waves. We have air, ground, retreat, regroup, and attack. So very similar to a lot of military actions during World War II, especially when planes were used to come in, drop their payload, and cause a lot of damage. And then we would have the ground attack come in, clean up what needs to be cleaned up, then retreat back to a location, give the other side a false sense of security, and then of course they come in, and then you group around and cage them in, and then you attack them one more time and then defeat them. Okay, very reminiscent of the samurais in Japan, and they did the same thing. They would corral their enemy into an area after they did their air attack with the bows and arrows, and cause as much damage as they could. Then they would attack and have ground, person to person fighting, and then they would retreat. The other side would say, "Hey, yeah, we're winning," and then they would chase after them. And unfortunately, by that time it's too late. And before you know it, the battle's done. And Snowball leads the attack but is injured, but he continues on. So please remember that. And finally, the humans flee. The animals are victorious. Nope, Napoleon's nowhere to be found, but he comes out of nowhere and joins in the celebration. Takes he pretty much takes full credit for it. That sounds familiar in the last few years. And of course, the other animals are not questioning it because they're none the wiser. And Napoleon knows that, so as long as he's able to spin it, and same as Squealer with his stories, he's able to tell it in his fashion that the animals go, "Oh yeah, Napoleon was there." It's like that telephone game where you give yourself, or you say something and you pass it on to somebody else, and by the time it gets to the other end, it gets so skewed that the last person thinks that's the original message, when in fact it was something else. But if you don't question it, you don't inquire, which is very important for you to do that in post-secondary, is for you to ask questions, to receive the criticism in a constructive manner, and to open dialogues and things like that. And but if you don't do that, then that's where barriers come up, or misunderstandings, or you get off track and stuff like that. So you want to be able to work together and for a common goal. Unfortunately, we've got 2 groups here. Napoleon's going one way, and Snowball, of course, is going another way. And this is going to eventually come to a head and create some major changes on this farm. So Napoleon, he doesn't come out and really ask this question, but he alludes to it, is how far are you willing to go to be free? And that would be, you know, if we had the discussion as a whole class, it would have been a nice debate to have. But maybe that could be one of your projects you can do for the novel, is to answer that question. And maybe if you're doing a visual written and a written, so two separate projects, maybe you want to answer that question, or maybe you can display it in an actual major project. How far are you willing to go to be free, and then use references from the text to validate it. So, and the other question that you want to address as well, especially if you were going to do this in a project, is the definition of freedom the same for everyone? So is your definition for freedom the same as your neighbor or person down the street or whatever? Or a family member, maybe it's family member in another part of the province or whatever. Do we all have the same definition? And some people say yes, we do, especially when it comes to rights and freedoms. But then some other people will question it and say, well, we do have the freedom to do this, but there are consequences to having those freedoms. And we've been hearing a lot about that in the last few months in regards to certain freedoms and rights. So you can certainly plug in that. And so, you know, yes, we do have freedoms to do this, but there's a consequence to that freedom. And it could affect others and things like that. So that's something to keep in mind, and but also to have an open mind, because other people may have differing opinions. So be sure that you respect that. And yeah, we're not going to agree and be on the same page about everything, but we can come to an agreement that freedom is important, and that's why we had. Back in World War I and II and the other wars, we've had our veterans fight for those freedoms in order for us to have those discussions and things like that. What else do you need to know here? I think that's about it. Oh yeah, Snowball and Boxer are decorated for their dedication to the battle. Remember that, because we'll see what happens with those dedications. And they were going to celebrate the anniversary of the rebellion as well. So that's chapters 1 to 4. And so everyone should be caught up now. And so tomorrow as a whole class, we will be on Google Meet starting at 9 o'clock. And if you want to be a part of the reading of chapters 5 and 6, we'll be doing that in class, and then we'll do the summaries in class as well. And so I'll figure out how to do the summaries through the Meet. I'm going to be learning that for tomorrow, so you'll have to bear with me. If I can't pull it up right at that time, then I'll do my video and have it posted on YouTube and go from there. Okay, so I'm going to be figuring out things in the next little while, but again, please check in either through the comments for the post of that day or through Google Meet. Okay, and that's how I'll keep track of the attendance, and then of course whether or not you are viewing these videos. The number of views will tell me whether that's the case and whether or not these videos are actually helping you out. And if they are, awesome. Then that'll help me make a decision on what to do for Quints 3, 4, and 5. But if it's not working, then I'll have to reconsider that as well. So I hope this is helping you out, and so that we can go from there. All right, so if you have any questions, please let me know. And until tomorrow, we'll see you then. Take care. Be safe.